There are military operations you'll never hear about, and then there are the ones you were never supposed to. This was both. Deep in the jungles of South America, there exists a place you won't find on any satellite map. Not because it's small or unimportant, but because someone made sure it vanished. Covered by thick canopy, cloaked in radio silence, and surrounded by what intelligence called dynamic civilian shielding, this place had a name whispered only in redacted documents: El Silencio. It wasn't a village, it wasn't a camp. It was a functioning fortress, a private city built by a cartel empire, designed not just to be hidden, but to be untouchable. Human trafficking, organ farms, bioweapons trade, all allegedly operated inside. But no confirmation ever made it out. 6 intelligence missions went in. 6 failed to return. Congress stopped asking questions. The Pentagon closed the file. And for a while, the jungle won. Then something unexpected happened. Not a drone feed, not a comm intercept, just a missing person alert on a quiet Tuesday. 2 American children vanished while traveling abroad with family. Hours turned into days. Local police shrugged. The embassy stalled. And then, a fragment of a voice message buried inside cartel chatter got decrypted. 6 words, 2 clean organs, Yankee origin, 72 hours. Suddenly, the name El Silencio was back on someone's desk. This time, circled in red ink. This time, with a countdown clock. When the news reached Joint Special Operations, protocol changed overnight. What was once a narco-safe zone had just crossed the wrong line. This was no longer a policing matter, not even a covert extraction. The U.S. classified El Silencio as something it hadn't used in decades. A sovereign hostile zone with hybrid combat elements. And just like that, the jungle that had swallowed soldiers was about to be dissected. Operation Iron Justice had no press release, no diplomatic cover, no leak. But what happened in the next 72 hours, after 2 kids disappeared, would rewrite how the U.S. wages war in silence. In theory, the playbook is simple. Step 1. ISR. Intelligence, surveillance, recon. Step 2. Establish a perimeter. Step 3. Extract, neutralize, exfil. That's the doctrine. But El Silencio didn't read the doctrine. When Joint Command issued the first satellite sweep, they got nothing. No heat signatures, no radio spikes. Just static, like the jungle itself was jamming them. UAVs sent in returned with corrupted footage, as if the trees had grown teeth and bit the feed right out of the air. Boots on the ground? A joke. The last team that tried vanished before check-in. What made El Silencio different wasn't just that it was hidden. It was designed to confuse. No clear roads, no GPS signals. Civilians walked in rings, drugged or threatened into endless patrol routes to throw off pattern detection. Armed patrols disguised as farming collectives. Barracks camouflaged as churches. Worse, it wasn't one compound. It was modular, movable, a fortress on wheels and feet. By the time you mapped it, it had already changed shape. Inside there were rumors of heat rooms, shipping containers rigged with high-temp burners used to instantly destroy evidence and DNA. They called them fire coffins, which meant even if you got in, there would be no proof you were ever there. And the children? If they were alive, time wasn't on anyone's side. So Command made a decision. Drop the playbook. No air support. No mass troops. They needed someone who could move like a rumor. Someone whose job wasn't just to strike, but to vanish after the strike. They activated what's known as Gray Unit Protocol, a team so far off books, their own parents might not believe they existed. No uniform, no flag, no trail. Only one mission. Brief. Get in, get them, get out, burn what follows. And they would do it with no satellites, no comms, and no backup. It began at 0415. No helicopters, no breach charges, no signature. Just 6 people stepping out of the jungle like ghosts who forgot they were dead. They didn't wear night vision goggles or body armor. They wore torn t-shirts, stained ball caps, mismatched boots. One guy carried a mop. Another, a toolbox filled with everything except tools. At the first checkpoint, no words were exchanged. The gray unit just waved, exhausted, annoyed, the universal expression of, "Not paid enough for this." The guard barely looked up. Just buzzed the gate open and took another bite of his sandwich. Inside the facility was a maze, not of walls, but of routines. Guards on schedule. Dogs kenneled before sunup. Surveillance cameras too old to zoom. One went for the comms tower. She pretended to patch a loose wire while installing a kill switch. Another headed toward the children's section. Inside, 14 children. Groggy. Breathing. Still human. Just before sunrise, a pulse hit the sky. Not from above, but from inside the jungle. A bright flicker in infrared, like something signaling back. They weren't the only ones watching El Cencio that night. By 0455, everything should have been over. The comms were laced. The captives prepped for extraction. And the operatives, still invisible, not by technology, but by narrative. Because when you pretend hard enough, you stop being you. You become part of the building. And buildings don't get shot at. But then, the jungle blinked. It started with a flicker. Just a single heat bloom picked up on FLIR by a drone still in passive mode. At first, they thought it was a bird. Then it divided into 3. Then 5. Then 11. And they weren't birds. They were people. Or shapes that moved like people. But faster. Smoother. Wrong. Whatever was out there, it wasn't surprised. It was waiting. Gray unit protocols kicked in. The extraction team at the children's wing initiated fallback. But the door they'd come through, now locked from the outside. A lock they hadn't touched. Down at the server room, the operator tried to send the exfil signal. The network, which had been active 30 seconds ago, was suddenly gone. Not jammed. Deleted. As if the entire node had been cut and replaced with silence. In the treetops, observers spotted red flashes in strange rhythms. Not strobe, not laser, but some kind of coded pattern, a language made of light and leaves. And then came the sound. Low, pulsing, like bass dropped underwater. Too low for human ears, but not too low to be felt. One of the operators dropped to one knee. Not injured, disoriented, eyes unfocused. He whispered, "They're pinging us." At 0506, extraction was called. Not to escape, but to shut it all down. All across the site, contingency triggers were pulled. Hard drives fried. Cameras burst. Files burned with thermite. Because if this place couldn't be understood, it shouldn't be remembered. And as the jungle closed in behind them, with its coded flashes and heartbeat static, one operator turned to the others and said, "This wasn't a mission. It was a message, and we weren't the ones sending it." They made it out. Not all in one piece, but alive. The children were extracted. The operatives returned. The gear, what was left of it, was scrubbed and boxed. But something didn't make it back. Not just the video, not just the logs. Something internal.
Was there any resistance?
We don't know.
We didn't see who locked the doors. We didn't hear anyone come. There were no footsteps, no gunshots. Only the jungle.
They played back body cam footage. Nothing. No heat blooms, no audio spike, no trace of the light pulses, only the sound of breathing and boots on soft soil. It was as if whatever had happened had only happened in memory.
The jungle was running an op on us.
No one laughed. Later, they examined the extracted children. All alive. All physically fine. But not one of them spoke a word. Not in Spanish. Not in English. Not even to each other. Like someone had scrubbed their minds the way you wipe a drive. Psych evals on the gray unit came next. Here's where it got stranger. 6 different operatives. 6 different versions of the mission. One said there were 11 enemies. Another said 0. One remembered fog. Another said the sky was clear. They agreed on only one thing. The jungle didn't feel like a place. It felt like a presence.
Who gave the order for the strike?
No one answered. Because no one remembered receiving it. The mission logs showed no activation code, no verbal go-ahead, no satellite confirmation, just a sudden collective momentum toward the facility, like a thought they all had at once. A thought that didn't feel like their own. Which is code for, we don't want to know. The most dangerous leaks don't come from the top. They come from people no one thought to erase. Some stories survive because someone tells them. Others survive because someone never shuts up about them. This one? It survived because a man named Mendoza kept talking, even when no one asked, even when no one believed, even when no one remembered his name. He wasn't an operator, wasn't intelligence, not even command. He was the logistics guy, the kind you don't salute, don't brief, don't even CC on the after action. But Mendoza? He had a gift. He kept everything. Flash drives, old SIM cards, time-stamped food orders, even voice memos from the cleaning crew. And after the jungle mission, he noticed something weird. The dates didn't line up. Satellite records showed the operation began at 0415. But Mendoza had a fuel receipt time-stamped 0342 from a chopper that wasn't on the manifest. The unit's gear log said 12 suppressors issued. Mendoza counted 13 returned. One of them still warm. And then, the big one. Buried in a routine file transfer from field comms. A single WAV file, corrupted but salvageable. He played it. Static. Then, a rhythm. Then a voice. Soft. Repeating. You're not the first. You're not the last. You're just the first to ask the wrong question. He flagged it, submitted it up the chain. No one replied. Instead, his credentials were revoked. Access wiped. Office relocated to Special Maintenance Supply Unit B. Translation, broom closet. No badge access, no Wi-Fi. Just mop buckets and silence. But Mendoza didn't stop. He started piecing together a timeline that never existed. Clipped from requisitions, CCTV shadows, thermal ghosts from dead satellites. And what he built looked like a mission profile. One no one claimed, no agency confirmed, but still moved with intent. He called it Echo Doctrine. Not a strike, not surveillance. A reaction. As if something in that jungle was trying to answer. But we didn't like the message, so we erased it. Too late. Because Mendoza kept backups. 3 copies. One mailed to a non-existent P.O. box. One stashed in an airport locker. And one embedded in the metadata of a meme posted to a military hobbyist forum hidden in the hex. Why? Because, as Mendoza said, they can wipe the data, but not the pattern. And patterns always come back. Most people think patterns are for spotting what's coming. But in the field, Patterns tell you one thing. You're already too late. 3 years, 3 continents, and 3 incidents that never officially happened. Burkina Faso. A recon drone vanishes over forest canopy. No heat signature, no wreckage, just gone. Audio before the feed cuts? 6 seconds of rhythmic pulses, 63 hertz. No natural match. Sumatra. A UN aid convoy disappears mid-transit. Route was clear. Terrain mapped. Last radio transmission? Laughter. Children's voices. Except there were no children on that mission. Panama. Night patrol in the Darien Gap. Team reports strange phosphorescent fog. Commander orders withdrawal. Only 3 return. All 3 have identical scars in the same place. None remember getting them. And in all 3 cases, one familiar detail. An unmarked fuel requisition. Logged by an account labeled MZ. They never found Mendoza, but his trail shows up like a ghost in the machine. Old NATO satellite code refactored into meme formats. Random words inserted into procurement docs that, when compiled, spell coordinates. And those coordinates? They all point back to the jungle. Not the same one, not the same continent, but the same pattern. Same terrain inconsistencies, same biological distortions, same sense that something isn't growing. It's watching. A rogue team, unofficial, unsanctioned, follows the trail. Not gray ops, not black ops. Something off-grid. Their names don't show up in any system. Their comms ride on weather balloon relays. Their weapons? Mixed generations. Some Cold War, some next-gen prototype. And one of them carries a journal. Worn leather, thick spine. Inside, sketches, timestamps, spectral analysis, hand-drawn maps. At the front page, written in block print, Echo Doctrine, version 3.0. When asked who wrote it, the operative simply says, "It was already in the drop site when we got there, wrapped in vines and warm." Final report, intercepted before deletion, concludes. The pattern is no longer regional. It's recursive. Intelligence recommends cease and forget. Memory is the only firewall left. And then, one last voice memo, anonymous origin. They're not defending a jungle. They're protecting a boundary between knowing and remembering. And we just stepped across it.